Trade Titans, blazing trails. Trade Titans never fail. Sharing wisdom, sharing truth. Building futures, raising roofs through challenges and victories. Innovation sets us free.
Welcome to Trade Titans, Entrepreneurship and AI. I'm your host, James. Today we're diving into an exciting world of solar energy with Crystal from Zodiac Solar. As a renewable energy reshapes our future, Crystal brings valuable insights from the front lines of solar innovation. Crystal, we're glad to have you. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for having me.
Good. It's it's beautiful out today now that the rain's gone, right?
Yep. Actually, they canceled school in Mecklenburg County, which I cannot for the life of me understand why.
A little rain here sometimes just scares everybody, it seems like. I think they were scared of tornadoes, I think. I'm not sure. But didn't seem like it got that bad.
No, not at all.
So, Crystal, we talked a little bit about this before, but what got you started in solar?
Really, for years, back in the early 2000s, I saw solar. I thought renewable energy was awesome. I always thought that, doing stuff that was better, making things better for my future, for my kids' future. I always liked that stuff, but I was doing insurance for many, many years. And I was looking for a way out and realized after someone that I knew, trusted, respected, was kind of dabbling in solar, and she showed me how easy it was to get into. And I was like, oh, I didn't know I could do it that way. Well, I've been trying to find a way to get away from insurance look, when you spend your 20s to your 40s doing one thing and doing that one thing well and not knowing what else you could possibly do anymore, it was scary thinking to start over. And seeing the way that the industry works, it really and truthfully, it's just another product, just like any other product when you're working on the sales side. And I was always a sales consultant, and I liked that process. But I also saw that that was what was missing from solar sales, is a consultative educational process. So many people go through that process in a pushy, shady sales tactic type process. And there's so many horror stories because of it. And that's why I excelled with insurance, was because I was always consultative and educational, helping people through the process, helping to meet needs from the beginning. And I figured, you know what, I can do this, take all of this knowledge and information, all the ethics training I did for 15 years, and move that into an industry where it's really missing. For the most part, that's not the process. And I was like, you know what? That should be the process. So I started as a rep for somebody else and then realized that very quickly why people have so many issues, and said, you know what? I could probably do it better if I do it myself, because I have that ethical background and I want to see it go a certain way. And I don't want to be told that I have to do it their way. I want to do it the way that I think people should be treated, take care of people the way that they should be treated. And I think that just develops solid long-term relationships. So that's what I wanted to bring to the industry. And that's what I wanted to do. And just take all that information and knowledge I had and put those same tactics and processes in place for solar.
Makes a lot of sense. And so far, what's been your biggest challenge so far?
Gaining trust. And I think that's everybody in any sales industry, I think we struggle with letting people know that they can trust us. We struggle with finding the people that will trust us and will give us that opportunity to show them that we're not like everybody else. That I always tell people, I don't need to get rich off of one sale. I need to help enough people that I can make a good living doing that. And I don't have to be wealthy just by making one deal, because that's not the way it doesn't work that way. At least nothing long-term that has longevity works that way.
Exactly. Awesome. And so since you've been doing this, any particular successes, any stories or anything that speak on what you're talking about right now?
Well, I think my favorite, I'll tell you about Commander Dan. So, Commander Dan, I always think about him because he kind of he's in that realm of people that I worked with for years and years and years. He's 73. He's a retired veteran. He was a military commander. He was actually a nuclear engineer. for, I think it was the Air Force. No, it was for the Navy. And when he told me his name is Dan, I really just kind of Forrest Gump and Lieutenant Dan. And he's got, I just started calling him, nicknamed him Commander Dan. But he's 73. He lives in a 55 plus community. It's an active community. And so everybody there is 55 and up, either retired or retiring, bought their homes there. Huge community. And I was the first person to put solar in it. So I was also the first person to convince the HOA to allow us to put it on the front of his house. He'd already been turned down by two other companies, or not by the companies, but for two other companies to put solar there. The HOA turned them down, flat out, just denied his request because he wanted a front-facing system. Getting a front-facing system in an HOA community is not easy. And knowing the right words to say, knowing how to show production, knowing how to fight for your customer. Honestly, though, having a customer that's willing to fight for themselves is huge. And he was ready. He was made jokes. I mean, I don't know how much they were jokes, but he made comments. He was like, well, I'll just run somebody over with my golf cart. And his wife is in the background. She's like, oh, Dan, and don't say that. It might be recorded. So, but great, fun couple, great community. And we were able to successfully overturn the HOA decision, denying him 2 times prior to getting him installed solar on the front of his property, which he's ecstatic about. So that's probably my favorite story.
Awesome. And so HOAs, obviously, they're difficult. They're difficult for us in roofing too. Sometimes it's just that there's processes and steps you got to go to, and it's all about how things are worded. So I think it's very important to have the right people on your side when you're dealing with this, because a lot of solar people are they just want to make the sale and
They
get you
want
to
it to,
sign
they want
something.
to lay down easy. They just want it to be simple and easy. Don't take no time. Don't take no effort. Just sell it, move on to the next one, and everybody's a number. And it's not how it should go. I mean,
That's been my past experience with solar companies too. There are very few that care. Most are just about the numbers.
mhm.
So let's talk about Carolinas in particularly, separate from the rest of the country as far as how solar's going right now. What's going on in the Carolinas? What do we see coming? Happened in the past year? Changes?
So we have the Carolinas we love our gas in the Carolinas. When I first moved here was now 3 years ago, there was a big thing going around about how they're going to make us get rid of our gas, and people were I really doubt they're going to make you get rid of your gas. They're building new communities every day, and they're all fitted with gas from the get-go. So if they really wanted to get rid of gas, they would stop building whole new entire communities with gas. But they're not doing that. They're not stopping that. So that's not happening. What is in potentially, I mean, Piedmont is, I think, the biggest gas company in the Carolinas. And I don't think everybody realizes, but they are owned by Duke. So Duke Energy is also one of the largest, if not the largest company across the country providing electricity. So they're not just providing you electricity, they're providing you with gas too. There was a investigation report done, I think it was WLRN. It's a predominant news station in North Carolina, that they're going to see, because of the costs and everything that's going on, they're going to see prices skyrocket over the next 2 to 3 years. That's not just going to affect people with just electricity. It's going to affect gas too. Whatever Duke does rolls down. The area, both the Carolinas, South Carolina in particular, I see it a lot, is there's a lot of municipalities with co-ops. They all buy wholesale from Duke. And then people are like, oh, I don't have Duke, so I don't have to worry about it. But they're buying Duke's energy. They're buying a wholesale rate to sell you your energy. So just because your company isn't Duke doesn't mean that you're not going to see those rate increases. The old adage goes, it rolls downhill. Well, it will roll down to them. It may not happen the same time, but a month or two later, as their rates go up from Duke, so are yours. So that's a huge thing to keep an eye out on. Carolinas have been a little bit more slow to adopt, but we also have people moving here from the Sunshine State, from Florida, like us, and tons of people moving out of California. Tired of the wildfires, tired of the expensive housing costs, trying to look for more cost-effective routes. But they're moving they're moving where we are. They're moving here. They were moving down to California or down to Florida, and our housing rates were going up dramatically. That's why we moved to the Carolinas. So now it's migrating north from there. So those people are now, all those people from Florida are now moving to the Carolinas looking for lower cost housing, more base, more consistent costs, where it's not really, we think it's better here, but it's not going to stay that way, because as all of this influx of new homeowners that are willing to outbid you, pay cash because they just sold their $1 million home in California, that they bought at 300,000. They can just come and put cash down on a house because we're selling them for 500,000. And that house that's 500,000 here is 1.5 in California.
Yeah.
So they're coming here, and everything in California is built with solar on it now. It's mandated that you put up new housing, you put up new buildings in California. It is mandated that it is fitted with renewable energy. So everybody that's coming over from California, they're used to it. And so I keep trying to tell realtors that are not on the bandwagon for solar, I keep trying to tell realtors, get knowledgeable. I might be putting a lunch and learn together for realtors, for people who are in the industry where they're doing inspections, or whether it's housing inspections or property casualty, whoever it is that wants to come and do this lunch and learn, to understand how solar can be utilized, and not just for the homeowner if they're buying or selling a house, how you can find it for them, how they can transfer. A lot of these companies have transferable warranties, have transferable, the interest and ownership and everything is transferable. So a lot of real estate brokers shy away from this because they don't understand it. And because they don't understand it, they're also looking at roof integrity inspectors and everything, is it safe now? Is that roof intact? And is it leak? And there's all these concerns. But if you know what you're doing, and if you put the right people on the job, you don't have these problems. But also, that's why you have inspectors. That's what they're for. So just bringing out and putting the right people together, educating and making sure everybody understands that this is going to explode here very soon. It's already exploded in other states across the country. California, Texas, Connecticut, New Jersey, there's Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia. It's getting more and more prevalent across the country. And we're maybe late to adopt, but we're on the verge of a wave of people that are going to be looking for solar or adding solar.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge thing. We also have to be aware of, even if the panels are made here, a lot of the components are coming from overseas. So electrical components, a lot of them come from minerals and things that are done, found in China. And tariffs are going to play a big part on these costs. So before the cost of making this stuff goes up, now's the better time to adopt. If you're ever been on the fence about doing solar, now's the time, before, as rates are coming down, but costs are going to go up on the other side. Grab it down here while you can, before it's more expensive just to buy a panel. More expensive just to get the materials for batteries. This is all coming. And I think it's going to be more rapid here in the next 2 years than it's ever we've.
Well, I think you told us a lot about, why to jump on solar, why solar is a big deal right now. I think a lot of people probably would love to understand the myths or the misconceptions that come along with solar as well, because there's a lot of those, a lot of misunderstanding.
I work daily to change those. Yeah.
What would be some of those that you hear the most, I guess?
So solar panels are going to make my roof leak. That's always possible.
I'm a roofer. I would say if you put it on a proper roof, it shouldn't make a difference.
It's
It actually
always
protects it.
possible. Here's the problem. In every single situation that I've run into where someone had a problem, the salesperson did not set up proper expectations. They did not educate. They did not evaluate the situation, and they did not use reputable installation companies. When I start from the beginning, I'm starting from, how old is your roof? If it's this age, when's the last time you've looked at it and had it inspected? Is it something you might want to do a new roof with your solar? I don't like to recommend people put solar on a roof that's 15 plus years old. If it's already 15 years old, before you put solar on it, you should probably get a re-roof from a roofer. And roofers might even say less years, depending on the type of roof, but I'm not proficient in the types of roof. That's why I talk to guys like you who can tell me what the integrity of that roof is, and making sure, because I am not a roofer, I'm not licensed in that. So I always reach out to the specialists and make sure that I'm including the right people to give the advice where I may lack, and putting that together. There's the other thing is it's not worth it. There are so many. I just did a presentation with someone last night. The person has a really low bill already. And I almost couldn't, I'm over here telling her in a text, I'm like, if these were my parents, I would probably not tell them to get solar. I'm not trying to poo-poo somebody else's sale. It's not, they weren't my connection. I was really, I don't even know why I was there, but I think it was there because I worked with seniors and they were both in their 80s. So they kind of brought me in as the right person to advise and discuss and educate a senior. But financing can make a good deal look bad. Financing can take a good deal and turn it into the worst investment ever. So understanding and having someone that understands the financing aspect of it, like I know that everybody doesn't have 20, 30 grand to plop down on their solar. But if you have decent credit and you have someone that understands which type of financing is going to be better, I try to do as close as cash as I can financing options. Sometimes that means the payment's a little bit higher, the monthly payment, but your loan didn't just go from 2037.
I know a lot of people a lot of times people will do home equity loans or things like that so they can get long terms with low percentage, because when you take loans specifically towards solar,
Mm-hmm.
there are what's called dealer fees. And I know a lot of customers don't know what those mean, but what it means is the company is probably adding that dealer fee in the back end, and you may or may not know that. It depends on who you're working with. Some people are
Mm-hmm.
honest about it, some are not. But it's 30-40% usually, or
They're
it can be
huge.
when you're in some of those big ones. So you got to think you're paying 30-40%. If it's let's just use even number, $10,000 job, 30-40% is another $3,000 or $4,000. So you're really financing $13,000 or $14,000 for a $10,000 job, and you still have your percentage. I've seen it work really well for certain people. It just depends on the payout. So it's a very tough thing that people don't understand, I think, sometimes. And you got to have the right people that understand the financing. A lot of sales guys just, selling, and they're like, well, the monthly payout is lesser where you're at now. But you really got to break it down, because
Mm-mm.
sometimes that's still not beneficial. Like, yeah, I
Right.
might be saving a little bit of money, but I could be saving more if I did this a little bit differently.
I always I start with, I think that transparency is a really big thing. It needs to be, what you're doing needs to be transparent. If you're working with solar with a customer, you need to be able to show them what it costs. Look, if it was going to be a cash job, this is how much it would cost, right? So I start there. I always show everybody what the system would cost if it was in cash. And then I say, now there's these options. All these finance companies will give me all of the same options that everybody else that you'll talk to about solar. They give them all the same options, right? But the difference is how you explain it. And I could give somebody a 199% interest rate, but what it's going to do to the total overall cost of that loan is ridiculous. I'm not going to promote telling somebody, hey, take this 199. It looks great. And if payments are great, it's going to be less or about what you're paying for your electricity, and not point out that, hey, that $30,000 project just went to 57, and not show them that this is, the payment might look nice and it might work, but I think that salespeople who are not strong in what they're doing or understand really, or maybe they don't care. And I hate to say that they don't care, but I think a lot of people just don't care as long as they make the sale. And it's sad. So I always show them, this is what it would cost if it was a cash job. This is what most solar people that either don't care or don't understand are going to show you because it's the easiest thing to get you to agree to because it's a low monthly payment. I'll give them the opportunity and I'll say, but for $30, $40 more a month on your payment, you don't have another $17,000 on your loan. Would you rather pay this low payment and have a loan that's $57,000 or have this payment that might be $20 to $50 higher, but erase that 15 or $17,000 increase on your loan? And I will show people that. And a lot of times they're like, well, no, if given the opportunity, they'll pay $30 or $40 more a month. They'll pay it because they know that they're not getting raked over the coals. They'll pay it because they know it's an investment into their property. It's an investment long term that's may cost them a few extra dollars, but I didn't sell them just the easy path that really and truthfully, and pardon my French, screwed them over.
Which is what most people do. They're like, let's just get the lowest payment that we can get them and sell them on that because the lowest payment is what most people are looking for.
Absolutely.
But I think that's what most people think they're looking for until they're shown there's a difference. And yeah, I feel like you can start that way. Say, hey, this is the lowest payment. This gets you under. But if we make this small little change, you're going to save this much money over the whole term.
Well,
Some people will want that lower payment. I mean,
a lot of
it's such a more
salespeople are
option.
scared though to even say, so here, the best rate that I could give someone right now is an 8.99%. And they're like, but that's so much interest on such a loan. And I'm like, look, if you're in it for the long haul and you're going to just make these payments and you're not going to take the incentives and the tax credits and plop them down into your loan, and you literally want to pay this over the course of 25 years, then that is where you're going to see that percentage. You're not going to see that percentage if you use the opportunities that the incentives give you to pay it off early. These are simple interest loans. So at 8.99% over the course of 25 years is going to cost you $2,000 to $4,000 more, but it's a hell of a lot closer to cash than it was on that 1.99, right? So if I
Makes
can
the
show
dealer
you,
fees a lot higher, so you're
right,
paying a lot more up front. You just, yeah. I mean, when I played with the numbers, and we do it in roofing too, some because it works the same way, and we're typically seeing that the better rates are like between 5 and 10 as opposed to trying to get the really low ones because the really low ones have such high dealer fees,
yeah,
and
it basically
the
they
math
back
comes
and
from.
load it. They'll take and they'll add all that finance money that they could have made. They'll just take that and they'll just add it to the top of the loan. It's like a back end loaded loan. They've got to make their money somewhere. And so
Mhm.
since they're giving you the introductory rate of such and such percentage, but they're making their money off of the fact that they added 10, 5, 15, whatever $1,000 to your loan.
Those 0% ones are a lot of times, and like for us, for instance, we have a cash discount that we give people if they're not financing, but that's, it's built into our pricing. And so we let people know, hey, this is the most, basically we have it set up to where the most expensive one with the 0% rate is what shows when you're looking at financing. But that's just for you to look at it. Once we talk to you and we go through it, we try to figure out what's going to be the best route for you.
Right.
Because 0% is super, it gets people's attention. Yes, you want to advertise that kind of stuff because people think they want it. But when you really break it down and show people why, I mean, and it's different because there's a lot of other companies out there that sell other things that can do the 0% and things like that without the same dealer fees. It's the type of businesses that you're dealing with. And when you're dealing with home service companies in general, dealer fees are different, and solar is 2 or 3 times the dealer fee than any other home service because there's been so many issues in the financing world for solar over past however many years. All these solar companies that have scammed the financing companies out of millions of dollars, and now they're tightening the reins and having this dealer fee up front so they can make sure that they're taken care of. And I don't blame them.
Mm-hmm.
They got to make, like you said, they got to make their money too. So it's just education. Let's move into a little bit on the business side of things. So I know businesses are starting to think and look into solar as well. And I know there's different programs available. So before we get to the programs, if let's say there's some business building owners here and they're thinking about putting solar, what could they start doing now to kind of prepare themselves, educate themselves on solar adoption?
Just having an idea of what their overall consumption is and how much of that they want to offset. Depending on the size of the company, some companies, if they're a certain size or bigger, are required federally to have purchased at least a certain percentage. And I don't know these numbers off the top of my head because commercial is not my forte. I have contracts that allow me to do it, but I have guys that are far more versed that I would talk to before, I would bring them with me if that was the case. But they have to have a certain percentage in green credits to be federal, to meet federal requirements, depending on the size of the company. So one of the things that I noticed, and I drive by in my area, I drive by this plethora of warehouses and big businesses down here in South Carolina. Well, I'm almost in South Carolina, in South Charlotte. And as when I drive through, I'm like, man, these huge roof spaces with no, I'm like, that would be great if I could just snag one of these jobs. Well, so I randomly called one of these companies one day, and lo and behold, it's Atlantic Packaging. And I did not know anything about this company. I just called one day and said, hey, who handles your electrical bills? Can I talk to them? And like, this never happens. The lady just sent me right over to him, and his name's Lam.
That's
Never
great, though.
happened, right? Well, Lem's like, well, I wish you would have called a little while ago. We just got solar about a year and change ago. And I was like, really? He showed me his whole system. He invited me to come out and look at it. And I took pictures of their probably 140 something panels that they have on their roof. Atlantic Packaging actually has a green initiative to keeping plastics out of the oceans. Right. And I was like, well, this really goes with their green initiative. Well, I wish I could get that contract because they have places all across the US. They're a national company, and
Wow.
they're putting solar, one or two facilities as at a time are putting solar on their facilities. So what he told me was that not only did they stop having an $8,000 a month electrical bill, but in cases, Duke told him that he was actually creating enough power to power a block around him. And so for them, that creates companies specifically have the opportunity to sell green credits. And when you sell green credits, it's basically the wattage that your system produces can be sold as green credits to other companies like Delta or Amex or big companies that have to purchase green credits to be federally in compliance, because if they don't buy a certain amount, then they're fined. So a certain amount of their energy has to come from renewable energy. So this is actually something people don't realize, but green credits differ. They differentiate in value. So depending on the amount, supply and demand, green credits may be worth more one month or less another month. So you can capitalize and really turn an expense for a company into something that's now a profit. So companies
That's
really
cool. I
have,
didn't know that.
yeah, companies, commercial jobs really have an opportunity to change the dynamic of their pulling from the grid and paying for power from a business expense to a business income, some more so than we do in residential. So really and truthfully, just actually talking to someone, getting an idea of what your consumption is and how much of that you want to offset, or if you want to turn it into income instead of just offsetting your usage, if you want to actually turn that expense into an income, which really just figure out which one you want to do and be prepared to hand a professional, someone that can really go over it with you. Sometimes they just see dollar signs. So I always tell people, talk to somebody that you trust that's not just going to look at you as a meal ticket, and have them run the numbers for you, because big jobs mean big commissions, mean big money. And a lot of greedy people get into the mix, and then you don't get advised as well as you should have been. So don't get taken advantage of. Talk to somebody you trust and figure out what you want to do with that energy. Do you just want to offset your expense, or do you want to create an income from it?
All right. So we're getting close to the end of our podcast. So I want to go through some personal, get to know you a little bit better, ask you a few little quick questions. So first, I mean, You've been in business doing this on your own for a little over a year now, at least. What advice would you give someone trying to start their own?
There are platforms that have zero entry. I didn't know this when I first started. It took me my first year of figuring this out to find these platforms and find these options, networking and talking to people. And remember that it's not what you know, it's who you know. You don't have to know everything to get started in the industry. You just need to know who to talk to and who to get information from, who can teach you and who can mentor you. Having connections, really and truthfully, what helped me the most was being in a networking group, being and talking to other business owners. It's not, I'd worked for myself before, but I had never done my own company, done it as my own company. I was a field agent, essentially working for myself, set my own hours, set my own appointments, made straight commission, didn't have a paycheck per se, but I wasn't really running a company. And so coming into this as a company owner was scary, and just figuring out if I could do it myself and if I could do it on my own. If you have somebody that wants to invest in you, great. But if you're not, if you don't have, somebody's money backing you up, there are so many ways into this. As a matter of fact, we are launching, one of the bigger companies that I work with, that I contract with, is launching a zero entry barrier opportunity. March.
We'll get that added into this link. If you have a link for that, when that happens, you just let us know. We can put it in the notes for this podcast, and people can find it.
Yeah, I have not seen any other companies present something like this and actually capitalize on the strengths. It's not everybody is able to nurture and be a consumer advocate as well as a closer and an appointment setting. Not everybody does all of these things, and so this new program is actually allowing people that may not do all of those things, but they can make money at every level and kind of wing their way into the business with zero cost and out of pocket responsibility. So there's definitely some awesome things coming out that I think are going to make it easier for folks to get into this industry for sure.
That's awesome, and I would assume, and I know what platforms you're on. I think we could add that in the link later. We won't bring it up yet, but I assume that's where you keep up with a lot of industry changes and updates too, because I know this particular platform has a lot of training and updates, and you have
You
mentors
do.
and things that
You
teach you.
do. But also you can't be afraid to talk to people. I mean, I reached out and I've literally called companies, other companies that do what I do. I've called roofing companies. I've literally just gone through, and I see home service companies every day driving down the street, right? And sometimes I'll just call the number that I see on a truck and just reach out and ask them if they have anybody that does something along the lines for a roofer. Do you have anybody that if you run into a job like a roof that needs solar panels removed for you so that you can do your job, do you have a person you call? And
No.
a lot of times if they don't already do solar, they don't, and they'll walk away from these jobs without having an idea of how to help that person. And so there's too much work that goes into it. So having somebody that they can call and being that person is huge. So I reach out to other solar companies. Don't be afraid. You can't be afraid of competition.
Yeah, that's what makes us stronger.
Collaboration, right? Collaboration is a much better fuel for growing a business than fear of competition. So don't be afraid for somebody else that sells solar. Go learn from them, talk to them, and talk to everybody in your sphere of that connection and make those connections for you, because they may know something you don't.
Right, exactly. I'm a firm believer of that too. Networking, collaboration, as much as you can do. You can always learn new things, businesses that are like yours, not like yours. A lot of them work together. It's just a lot you can do. So
If you're
that's
in a
probably my
home
biggest recommendation ever is just network and collaborate.
right? If you're in a home service industry, essentially solar is really construction, right? That's the basis of it. Other people that run companies in that same industry of construction, we're all dealing with the same challenges. It may be a different product, but at the end of the day, they're dealing with the same challenges you deal with. And they will have, if they've been in business longer than you have, they'll have insights on how they handle the situation that you may be struggling with. So definitely talk to other people in the industry and in that sphere of what you do.
Exactly. Well, Crystal, I definitely have enjoyed having you on. I think we've learned a lot about solar, learned a lot about how it works here, and hopefully people listening can learn a little bit from that as well. And like I said, there'll be some links in the description that people can click to find you and learn more about getting on one of these platforms if they'd like. And
Last thing that I
sure.
want to reach out, I want to, so Duke has, for North Carolina, Duke has the Power Pair program. However, not anybody, not just anybody that installs solar in North Carolina can provide you with a Duke Power Pair program option. It's a rebate, actual check the Duke sticks in your hand if you go solar and put a battery in with your system. Not just anybody can give you that. They have to be a Duke Trade Ally. And we are actually contracted and partnered with 3 or 4 trade allies that do installs for our customers. So if that's something that people want to do, there's new incentives that came out last year in June from Duke that you just have to talk to the right companies to get access to.
Yeah, I know that's a amazing thing that came out last year, and I think it's definitely beneficial. You got to jump on it as soon as you can before these things start to go away. We don't know what's happening in current administration. Like you mentioned, we do have the tariffs coming, and we know that things are getting pulled back in certain areas and funding. So right now it's still here. So you get in it now and you get it submitted. It can't be pulled away from you once it's been submitted and it's approved and all of that. So, and they'll have to put a timeline on this. Usually these type things won't get just stopped immediately.
Well, they have a certain set amount that they're going to lay out for it. And once that money's gone, even if you have a contract, believe it or not, they did this a few years ago. Even if you have a contract in place, but if the money's already gone, you may never see it. So get and adopt while it's available now, while the funds are still available. Because
Exactly.
once those funds are gone, you might not be able to access that anymore. But don't let anybody install your solar. Don't let just anybody climb up on your roof and put some holes in it. Make sure that you're talking to somebody that's going to help you and has folks like, Best Roofing in their back pocket that can come take care of you.
Exactly. There's too many solar companies to be aware of. There's ones that come up and shut down all the time. North Carolina has maybe a handful worth of companies that are actually good ones, and then there's tons that aren't. And it's the same thing in the roofing industry. There's tons of good ones, tons of not so good ones, probably more bad ones than good ones. So you just got to be careful. Do your research. Make sure you're talking to good people.
Or call me, and I've done all the research and I continue to do it.
Oh, yeah.
I point people to good companies all the time, and I stay as far away from as I can from the companies that are causing people problems.
Exactly. And they can, people listening can reach out to us, can reach out to you with your link down below. They reach out to us, we can get them in touch as well. So definitely, hopefully people will do that. Like I said, solar is a big thing. It's savings, but it's also saving our community, our world. So there's just a lot of positive benefits to it.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciated you again coming on, and thank you to all our listeners. Definitely join us next week. We are going to be interviewing a past mayor of Charlotte on the next podcast, so we're very excited to have her. She is big into energy and helping our business community grow, so I'm very excited to talk about that, and we'll probably talk a little bit about solar in Charlotte too, so might come back up again.
I would be interested to listen, but I would also be interested in meeting her, so let me know.
I'll definitely introduce you sometime.
Thanks, James. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Right. Thank you for listening to Trade Titans. We enjoyed having you on, Crystal, and we made this special song about you. Y'all enjoy listening to the song, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Crystal with Zodiac Solar shine so bright, lighting up the world with knowledge, not a fight. They got the way, no push, no shove, teaching solar power like an act of love. No hidden catch, no cloudy sky. They're here to care, not just to sell or try. Transparent rays that warm your heart. With Zodiac Solar, it's a brand new start. Feel the solar glow like the sun above, powering your life with wisdom and love. No pressure, just kindness, they'll consult you through. Crystal's guiding light shining just for you. you see what solar could mean for your family. The stars align when they educate. With Zodiac guidance, it's never too late. An honest spark in a world so gray. Crystal leads with care in a trusty way. No sales pitch, just truth and light. Zodiac shines, making futures bright. Feel the solar glow like the sun above, powering your life with wisdom and love. No pressure, just kindness, they'll consult you through. Crystal's guiding light shining just for you.